Hello out there and welcome! Today I will be painting a floral watercolor of the Rebel Alliance symbol from Star Wars. This artwork is going to have a very layered, a very blended look, so I'm using the light table as the sketch of the flowers is underneath, and I will ink those on after I've done all the paint. So here I am just filling in the logo with yellow as a sort of base contour, and then I will be putting some colorful patches over top of this. So to get the effect that I wanted, I started by wetting the areas that I was going to paint with the next color, in this case a nice orange. So I wet those areas and then slapped on some color in the sort of general area where the flower is. You can see through the paper here. And then I just blended that out and layered it on until I was happy with the result. So I'm not being very exact with where I place my paint. You can see me pressing down on the paper just to see where the flower is, but I'm not bothering to stay inside the lines too much. I just want this to be a very blended and very watery looking kind of piece of work. I'm gonna speed through this bit since I'm really just doing the same thing over and over, adding orange to the places where I want it, blending it out, and layering it until it looks pretty. Now here's a little tip for everyone out there. If you're like me and you mix your paints vigorously, cover your artwork. You do not want splatters. Sometimes you can save stuff, but sometimes you just can't. So be careful. Now it's time to mix the green shade for some of the leaves, and I wanted a very yellow-toned, warm olive shade to complement all the reds and oranges in the rest of the painting. I didn't want the leaves to stick out too much. So just like with the yellows and the oranges from before, I start by wetting the paper with a clean brush and then going in with the green and just following sort of the general area of the leaves and not being too exact, and then just blending and layering and blending just like before. I took a little lunch break and let the paint dry for a little bit, and then came back and added some more green for added depth, a bit of shading, and to define the shape of the leaves just a little bit more. Then I went back in with a deeper, more rusty red to the center of the flowers and at the bottom of those lotus-looking tulip things, just to add a bit of depth and to make them really pop. And now it's time to break out my good friend, my handheld battery-operated fan. This is a very wet piece of art. There's a lot of water, a lot of paint, and a lot of layers, and not wanting to take several days to do this, I brought out my little fan and just blow-dried the heck out of her. I needed this layer to be quite dry before the next layer, as I wanted sort of more defined shapes and to deepen the shades that I already had. Here I added that original base shade of yellow to the edges in some places, because I didn't like how the oranges and the greens just looked really faded and not as saturated, so I just blended that yellow in there to give some brightness. I think this was the point in the painting where I decided that, yeah, I really like this. This is turning out pretty good. So basically that's when you stop. That's when there was enough color, and I decided to blow dry her to all heck to be ready for the ink layer. So I brought out my pigment liners and turned on the light table and got to work inking. Now if I were to do this again, I think I would probably ink first and then paint over it, because this was a little bit difficult. The paint made it difficult to see my sketch. The paper was a little bit uneven because of all the wetness on it, and it just, I think the paint also clogged the nibs a little bit of my pens, which made some of the lines uneven. And also it's a rough grain paper, so I think inking first would be a good idea next time, but here we go. I realize my hand keeps covering what I'm doing, and normally I would turn my paper around, but since it was stuck to the light table and there's a camera tripod right in front of it, I couldn't really do that. So bear with me, and I'll speed her up a little bit. I'm gonna super speed through drawing these berries because I just covered everything with my hand. You cannot see what I'm doing, but they're under there somewhere. So here we are. This artwork is pretty much done. I'm really happy with the way it turned out, and it was fun trying a new technique. And here are some close-ups where you can see the details and the sort of bleeding paint and the different layers. I just think it looks really, really cool. So thanks for checking out my video, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that I could inspire you to try something of your own. Bye!